Okay, this is Robert O'Hara. This is a plea agreement between the United States and Robert O'Hara, hereinafter referred to as the defendant. This agreement is made pursuant to the provisions of Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure 11E1AC and is based upon the promises and understanding set forth below. Defendant is currently under a 3-count indictment in the case of United States versus John Cunningham et al., criminal number 82000028B, United States District of Maine. Defendant agrees to enter a plea of guilty to this indictment. Defendant agrees to enter a guilty plea to one count information charging him with conspiring to possess with the intent to distribute a large quantity of marijuana on or about the summer-fall of 1981, which involved the vessel Marianne and an offload in the area of Bremen, Maine. Defendant agrees to fully cooperate with the United States. Full cooperation means that the defendant will do all of the following. He will disclose to government agents all of his criminal activity and all that he knows or has heard about criminal activity by any and all other persons. He will provide the government or aid the government in acquiring all documents, photographs, bills, records, receipts, and like material in his custody or to which he has access, which will corroborate information given pursuant to paragraph 3A above. He will also give complete and honest testimony at any and all proceedings with respect to matters covered by paragraph 3A whenever requested by the government, but the government will not ask the defendant to testify against his siblings, spouse, or parents. He will meet with government agents or attorneys in preparation for giving testimony pursuant to paragraph 3C and will accompany them when requested for the purpose of locating evidence or preparing for testimony. It is understood that should any of the information provided by the defendant reveal any other criminal activity except those violations mentioned in paragraphs 1 and 2, to which he is expected to plead guilty, it will be deemed as having given under use immunity, and it could not be used against him. Defendant shall not receive use immunity regarding his involvement in the offenses referred to in paragraph 1 and 2. However, nothing in this agreement will preclude the prosecution of defendant for any serious violent crime committed or directed by him, should such be known through his own statements or otherwise. Nothing in this agreement will prevent the United States from prosecuting the defendant for perjury, false statement, or false declaration if committed in conjunction with this agreement. Additionally, defendant understands that the United States will not tolerate any future violations of federal or state laws by him, and should any become known, nothing in this agreement will preclude prosecution of the defendant by appropriate authorities for such violations. If defendant should fail to cooperate fully as defined in paragraph 3, The government will be released from its commitments herein, and this agreement shall be null and void. This determination of whether defendant has cooperated fully, as contemplated in paragraph 3, shall be made solely by the United States Attorney for the District of Maine, but must be based upon actionable, articulable facts. It is understood that the aggregate of any sentences imposed with regard to guilty plea under paragraphs 1 and 2 shall not exceed 6 years. The defendant may request a lesser sentence, while the government is free to make any recommendations up to 6 years. The defendant will also be subject to a special parole term if it is contemplated by the statute to which he pleads guilty. The court shall not sentence the defendant to pay a fine. The government will not object to the defendant self-reporting to prison, and the government will also not object to any specific prison designation request by the defendant. Defendant understands that there are no further or other agreements, either expressed or implied, other than those contained in this agreement, and none will be made except in writing signed by the parties. Defendant's signature in the space designated signifies his fully and voluntarily acceptance of this agreement. Signed, Richard Cohen, United States Attorney, by J. P. McCloskey, Assistant U.S. Attorney. Dated 6/6/81. I have 84. I have read this agreement and carefully reviewed every part of it with my attorney. I understand it, and I voluntarily agree to it. Signed, Robert O'Hara. Date 6/5/84. I represent Robert O'Hara as his legal counsel. I have carefully reviewed every part of this agreement with him. To my knowledge, his decision to enter this agreement is an informed and a voluntary one. 6/5/84, Michael